Thanks for listening, and don't forget to check out our YouTube channel to see some of the visuals discussed in today's podcast. Welcome to Stallside Podcast.
Just put these together. And
Is this going?
Keep going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, here we go.
You know, through the years, I've had at least 20 interns I've mentored and trained, and they all have a unique story and a unique history. Some of them are easy, some of them not so easy. But I've found what you have to do is you got to break them down and then build them up, because a lot of them come in a little less than humble. But anyway, we fixed that. Yeah. Bart was my official first intern, but I had one intern. He was a Hawaiian from Hawaii, and I'm going to not say the names to protect their identity. But anyway, it took forever. I was trying to teach him how to palpate a mare, and we're going through the whole season. He just couldn't get it. So finally, his internship's about over. We got a month to go. He still didn't know left from right and how to feel or anything. Well, I just so happened I was with this intern, and ran into my brother, who was a bovine practitioner in the area. And I said, "Stuart, what are you doing today?" He goes, "Oh man, I got to do 125 BSEs on bulls." I go, "Are you kidding me?" I go, "Oop." I go,
Gotta cut that.
I go,
Leave it in. It's good.
I go, you're up. You're going with my brother to do BSEs on bulls, because I can't teach you. So he went and he did, you palpate bulls, accessory sex glands. So he went and palpated 125 bulls, came back, and he knew that how aggressive or less aggressive he could be with a mare, and it taught him how to palpate a mare. And from that, the light switch went off, and he graduated from my intern academy.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Dr. Scott Pierce, Part 2.
Scott, welcome back to Stallside.
Thanks.
So you've talked a lot about the grading scales. Could you show us some examples of those particular grades?
Sure. Let's see here, Bart. All right, here's an example of a very good airway, grade 1, normal epiglottis. Look at the epiglottis, that's a tongue-like projection on the bottom there. You can see both of the arytenoids they're working identically. Both of them move symmetrically and synchronously, and you can see the full abduction is easily achieved. There's a still shot, and you see both the arytenoids here maximally abduct. Very good airway. All right. A 2A. All right. 2As, slight asymmetry, good airways, slight asymmetry, slight asynchrony. They don't move identically together. This one may totally abduct a little bit sooner than the other one, but you can see abduction is easily achieved just based off a swallow. I didn't even have to do a nasal occlusion here. Epiglottis, maybe just a tick flaccid, but certainly acceptable. You could see that. And that's a good point. On the epiglottis, you can't be too critical, because a lot of times a horse that's fighting restraint, they're pressing down a little bit, and the epiglottis will look thinner. You let them relax, and lo and behold, it looks a lot better. But was that 2A straightforward?
2A. Yeah, because I with the displacing the epiglottis, a lot of that is behavioral more than it is functional. When you're scoping these yearlings at a standing exam.
So the restraint's so important, and relaxation is so important, just through the overall grade. Now look, this is a little bit older video. You can see the quality is not quite as good, but you can see the right arytenoid, which is on your left, moves a little easier and quicker than the left one. See, and so now you can see the pharyngeal wall collapsing. What I'm doing is holding this horse's air off. So I'm really making him work this left arytenoid, and you can see he's getting it there now. So it's taken me extra effort, and it's taken the horse extra effort to get the left arytenoid up. That's a 2B airway in my book. Is that pretty straightforward?
Yep. Yep. You probably wouldn't argue with somebody if they called it the 2B to a 3A.
Yeah. So therein lies some of the issue, but that's my 2B. Here's a 3, and you can see this is a 3AB. You can see the right arytenoid that's on your left easily abducts, maximally abducts, but then look at the left arytenoid throughout the exam. It's about 80% there. And not sure, I think maybe at the end of the video, it almost maximally abducts, but this would be my 3A group. And like I said, in the study, as a yearling, 3As were at 3 and 4 anyway, had lesser earnings per start, just lesser horses. I thought there 1 second he might have maximally abducted that for a split second, but that would be my 3A. You can see there just at rest now how asymmetrical that airway is and how the left arytenoid is just sitting there.
Kind of like my brother when it's time to milk the cows. Just lay there.
Yeah, just lay there. So, okay.
I was the right arytenoid, by the way. I was moving.
Yeah, riding that chariot. All right, then this next horse, you can see it's kind of an interesting, because you don't see this every day, but an older video. But you see the right arytenoid. This is a grade 4. This is the horse is paralyzed on the right arytenoid. You see and that's usually not the case. You can see, hopefully here in a minute, what I'm doing is moving around trying to touch his pharyngeal wall to get him to swallow, because I don't have water on these new video scopes, or even the old ones for that matter. But you see, once he relaxes here, or I relax, the left arytenoid is on your right. See how easily it moves up, versus the right one is paralyzed. Now there's a condition, laryngeal dysplasia in horses, that this would be my first thought, any right-sided paralysis in a young horse, that's my number one rule out. And what that means is there's anatomical, structural abnormalities of the cartilage of the airway. And there's nothing you can do about it. Rostral, everyone's read the conditions of sale, or at least heard of them. And you see rostral displacement of the palatopharyngeal arch. That's one component of laryngeal dysplasia. This is another one, right-sided paralysis. Here's another airway. I just wanted to show you the, like a real flaccid epiglottis. And you can see the epiglottis lays on the floor of the soft palate. And this, like I said, this is an older video, but it was a great epiglottis. It's not there now. The horse is displaced. You don't see it at all. Let me clean the scope off. There you can see that real thin little, looks like a little flaccid piece of bacon right there. So we know that those horses with short, flaccid epiglottises are, that perform to a lesser degree. And so, keep going right there. Okay. I paused it. You can see the tip of the epiglottis versus some of those others that have great vasculature. These horses do not perform as well. And so I'm fairly critical of these at the sale. Now I have to say though, these are young horses, and it's amazing how many of these between September and the following April, May, it's amazing how many of these things improve.
That one's not going to improve though.
Probably not. And the link's certainly not going to.
Yeah.
And then in that yearling study I've described earlier, the short epiglottises did not perform as well. Short and by themselves, short epiglottises were lesser horses, and then short and flaccid. Flaccid were, moderate to severe flaccid were lesser horses. So I think that's all the videos that I had, but that pretty much sums
Those are some good examples.
sums it up. What else, Bart?
So where are we at? I mean, what's important? What are you telling buyers?
Okay. All right, here's my spiel. I've got a buyer. Okay, 1s and 2As. Buy them all day long. They're the same. There's no statistical significance.
Okay, let me ask you a question then, because you get pin hookers are saying I cannot pin hook that 2A.
Well, I can tell you, then this is a little bit weird, because that study I was discussing earlier to you that I'm trying to publish right now, 641 2-year-olds, and lo and behold, the same percentage of those horses are 2As. So 75% of those horses were 2As.
In the 2-year-old sale.
In the 2-year-old.
So the pin hookers, they bought 75%.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good one too.
No, I did go back and I looked at how many went through a yearling sale of that population. 80% of those horses went through a yearling sale. So you can't tell me they're not buying 2As.
Right.
They're buying 2As, because 75% of the study in both of my 2-year-old studies, 75% of the horses are 2As, period. Same. It was almost the exact same percentages as the yearlings. So they're buying them. I don't understand where it's coming from, because there's 2As in the yearling 2-year-old sales too.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe somebody else called them something different too.
Yeah. So what do I say? Okay, you know, it's the 1s and 2As, no big deal. Those are easy conversations in my practice. Grade 3s, those are an easy conversation. You don't buy those, and certainly you don't buy a paralyzed horse, which is non-existent in public auction anyway. So there comes the 2Bs rolling down the road here, and then that's where you get into problems. 1, people don't want to buy them. 2, the seller gets killed because nobody wants to buy them. And so you get any type of a B on a certificate or a video, you're talking about significantly less money. So what do I tell my clients? Well, first of all, I say, okay, 2Bs are 7.5% of my population. I have had grade 1 winners, although they're sprinters. I've had no classic winners that I can recall in all these years, or a Breeders' Cup winner that I've scoped that's a 2B to win one of those races. I have had grade 1 wins. You go back and look at my data. I've had lots of grade 3 winners, lots of grade 2 winners as 2B Airways. So I go to my client, and you know as well as I do, there's even this 2B that you notice that, is that maybe someone got, there's 2Bs and then there's 2Bs.
Yeah.
And so they kind of get gobbled up together. And there's some of these mild 2Bs I'm okay with, because it might be just the day you're looking at the horse, and you certainly can't fail the horse. And so would you pin hook it? Probably not. Would you buy it to race? You darn right. So what do I tell my people? Yeah, I tell them, okay, you can have a grade 1 winner. It's probably going to be a sprinter. It's going to have lesser distance. You're going to get it a lot cheaper. If you're looking for value and you want is a grade 3 horse, a stakes winner, grade 3, grade 2 winner, because I've had numerous in my study, then you can buy it at a significant discount. And with the caveat that I'm not going to resell the horse because you're going to get killed. Although, even saying that, even at the 2-year-old sales, which really surprised me in the studies, I'm still getting about 7.5%, 8% 2Bs. So are they buying them, or are they getting worse? I don't know, because you don't buy a 2B to pin hook it. Maybe it's in that 20% that didn't go through a public auction. And then I've had 2Bs. We used to always not send horses to Saratoga because it had a 2B Airway or it had this or that. We try to handicap that, and it's impossible. I've had a significant 2B up there bring $2 million. So they asked me, I can't handicap it anymore. Either you want the horse or you don't. And a horse last year, I went through the same thing. It was last year, 2 years ago. That's a good client bought this horse for like $800,000. It was a 2B, a significant 2B. And I just went through the same thing. They're lesser horses. At 4, I know they have less earnings and earnings per start. At 4, it's not strong. At 3, but they are somewhat lesser horses. Is it the kiss of death? No. Have I had numerous good horses? Yes. Have I had a classic horse? No. Do they run shorter? Yes. Could you have a significant, a successful racehorse? Yes. So it's all in the risk reward and risk taking and how game the buyer is, and no different than, buying some radiographic finding that you may think that's going to bother the horse. You hear about sesamoiditis all the time. There's outliers, and some do better than others. And so some of these do better than others. So that's basically, I guess, what I tell my clients. Do I say don't buy a 2B? No, I don't say that. It's up to them. It's up to them to decide. And if they're getting the horse for 25 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar, is that worth it to have a grade 2 or grade 3 winner? Or even a grade 1 winner? The odds are no, but I've had numerous 2Bs as grade 1 winners, sprinters, but they're grade 1 winners. So that's basically what I tell my clients. But you like, Bard, you can't buy them, you can't sell. I mean, you can't sell them. Nobody wants them. Kiss of death.
One of the welcome changes that's happened for the horses and for the people handling the horses is the video scopes at the sale. They're putting those in the repository now. So are you comfortable buying off the videos? And do you think those videos are representing the horses well enough that you're happy recommending them? I'm really pleasantly surprised that they've been accepted as well as they have been, especially in foals. But the foals don't need to be scoped 20 times. A yearling doesn't need to be scoped 20 times. So I'm pleasantly surprised on the acceptance of my colleagues for the videos. Let's talk about, like, when I go to Tattersalls, and I've been going over the last few years, some of those videos are 3 weeks old. Would you take a video that's 3 weeks old? Nope, probably not.
My record, I've had a horse, and it's been videoed, so I'm not lying, that I scoped it before an October sale. It was a nice 2A. 17 days later, it's a 3A or 3B. Doesn't meet conditions. So that, I've tell people, 17 days, I've seen it happen in 17 days. Now, I'm not sure why. Was the nerve traumatized? Who knows? Stretched out, trauma, whatever. But I've seen it happen 17 days. That's my record. So 21 days does not make me feel good. So I rescope quite a few there. I'm not very popular, but my guys buy a lot of horses there. So they tolerate me. Here, it's different because the sales companies need to address this. That, we just throw them in. There's no conditions of anything. Yeah. You still have the conditions of sale for those 7 or 8 conditions that are present. But there's no conditions for the video length of time, et cetera. The judge and jury is basically you and me and our colleagues, that if we're going to go back and rescope a lot of horses, it makes clients mad. Why are you rescoping my horse? Well, it's too dark, or it's too short, or I don't like it displaced a lot, or whatever. So, that kind of schools itself. But it's been well accepted. I think it's important that they're done within 5 days. Veterinarians are doing better. I used to rescope any horse that I couldn't identify, and I still do quite a few. If I don't have a chip to read or some distinguishing mark on the horse, like a star or some white, if it's just a dark stall and all of a sudden you see an airway, they get rescoped. So as time goes on, people are becoming more aware. Yeah, chip read, I can record that number if I need to, but you're comfortable that you see a chip read and you see him he or she put the scope in the airway, that's the horse that had the chip was read. So as long as they're adequate length, usually they're done on ship ins, so they're 3 days or less, which I'm totally okay with that. My cutoff's 5, within 5. I tell my buyers, my clients, that they know that if I'm not 100% comfortable with any of the video, I redo them. So I'll redo 20% maybe. you'll see one with, and it's amazing how many look better or worse sometimes, but you'll see one that's kind of a 2B, and you don't know if it's positional or whatever, the restraint. You go back and you go, my God, that's a great airway.
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to say we've passed a lot of horses on the video scope, never failed one. It's because we go, if there's questions, you go back and you rescope and
right. And you really put it all in perspective. It's a resting exam. So, hey, is a resting exam going to change in a couple of days? No. Could it a little bit? Yeah. But the basics are going to be fine. And then I encourage people, especially if they spend a lot of money, to, even though it's a video, probably should just go do after you purchase. Not a lot of people do, but do post-sale scope just to make sure, because entrapments can come and go, and some other issues. They could have ulcers. The reason I like 5 days is that's my limit on ulcerations and potential chondritis type things that are at least ulcers that can lead to chondritis. As I've seen those come up within 5 days. 5 days. It's amazing how they can be non-existent, and then 3 days, 4 days later, they're there, and you go, oh my God, where'd they come from? So it's not sum it up, it's not an exact science. There's always going to be debate. There's always going to be second opinions. There's always going to be controversy. There's always going to be outliers that outrun their pedigree, outrun their airway, or outrun their radiographs. There's always, and then all of a sudden, Bart's going to be known as Dr. No. and that's your Dr. No's. They outrun their outliers. They do well. And you hear all the time, this 2B, so-and-so failed this 2B, and he's kicking, blah, blah, blah. And you go, yeah, he's an outlier. He's an outlier. Sesamoiditis, all you vets that failed this horse, sesamoiditis. And, he's an outlier. But there is a study if at Keeneland that's coming out of Colorado State that needs to be published, because there's so much information that needs to come in there. So I don't know. We can revisit this a little bit. I think we covered most of the topics. And certainly if anyone out there has any questions, they can email Bart or me, and we're glad to educate or discuss this. This has been kind of my professional life's mission here, to add clarity, and we're still trying to add clarity to it. And I've got 2 or 3 more I want to get published before I hang it up. But that's where we are.
My aha moment here was when you pointed out that 75% of the horses that go through 2-year-old sales are 2As. Yeah. So
it's not like you're going down to look at 700 yearlings and
they're all
600 of them grade ones.
Yeah.
They're not. They're the same. It's the same population.
When do you find the perfect horse, right? This is part of the package. You're talking about, okay, they have this airway, but there's other things that are involved in performance, right? And the ones that do well, the ones in the 2As are the ones that can fully abduct.
Easily.
Right? And see easily. And so that seems to be the break point looking from the outside. If they fully abduct, even if they're not perfectly symmetrical, these are going to be good horses, all other things being considered. Right. So this is like really good information.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've been here with Dr. Scott Pearce talking about the vagaries and the importance of upper airway endoscopy on horses at the time of sale. See you next time.
Stallside Podcast is brought to you by Rood and Riddle Veterinary Pharmacy. As partners in your animal's healthcare, we strive to bring you the highest quality medications, including custom compounds, that are formulated and produced right here in our pharmacy. Along with medications, we also strive to bring you high quality and relevant information, such as that available here on the podcast. So if you like what you hear and see, be sure to refer us to your friends, and remember to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We've done a lot of great episodes already that you may need to catch up on, with more just around the corner. One last reminder, nothing you hear on the podcast should be construed as veterinary advice, which should only come from a veterinarian with whom you have a relationship.